Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hack Check podcast. I've got a very special guest again today, Matt Leisching. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Okay, great. How's it going, Matt?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on, man. We were just talking a little bit off air about you guys. I saw you've got a new premises for Madfit. Is it open yet, or?
So we it's a lot of work. It's a big premises. It's about 1,300 square meters. So it's taken over a month and a half. We got 2 rings. We're building a cage. We're going to have over 20 bags, a recovery section. It's a lot of stuff, so it's taken longer than we expected, but we want to take our time with it and move in when it's right. We want to have everything perfect. So we're keen. Hopefully the next 2 weeks we'll be in.
Nice. Was it just because of the demand and everything, looking to the future? Or?
Yeah, we've had the gym 8 years now, and it's just natural progression for us. We always want to just grow, but grow at the right time. And I think we got a space became available, and it suited us perfect. We at capacity now. We haven't got a small gym now, but we could have stayed there. But this opportunity came up, and we thought, let's take it. And honestly, we'll have the biggest boxing martial arts gym in the province. So why not? Let's take it to the next level and see where it goes.
Of course, man. Of course. You guys have already been at a high level as it was before, but I guess obviously with capacity being reached, it makes
for sure.
That makes sense, 100%. What's the story of you guys? Don told me a little bit about the story, but how did you and Don actually meet each other?
That's a long ago. We go way back. Let's think. In 2011 or 12, I was training people at a gym in Harrington Street. So we had it was an old boxing gym under a church, actually. Old school gym, it was, you go there, hard sparring, it wasn't really a commercial gym, to say.
Yeah.
And I had a couple guys, I was training a couple fighters there, and I think Don came back from Thailand that year or around the same time. And just things happened, and I was training at the time. I was helping Jason Costa, Brazilian guy.
Yeah.
And who else was there? I think it was Nick Radley, few guys. And then I went to the gym and I saw Don was training there. I didn't know him at the time. And then he just obviously stood out amongst all the fighters. And then one of the other jiu-jitsu coaches, asked me, do I want to, hold pads for him and, get. I think he was looking for a boxing coach at the time. And we were about, I think we're 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And then we worked together, and then we just clicked, and I came back every day. The next day I was there, and we worked, and we just helped each other and helped him with his boxing, and we just formed a bond from there, grew the fight team, and carried on going throughout the years. Don fought, and we won the EFC Africa title together with obviously with the team. And as we got to a certain point, we decided, let's do our own thing and open our own gym. And that was in 2005. We decided to open Madfit. Obviously, I have the boxing element. Don's got the jiu-jitsu and the MMA, so we thought it makes sense, put us together, and we can, it's something we wanted to do. And so then we were in 2015. We opened Madfit. We started small, had no idea what we were doing. Had a gym, 4 bags, like no money, whatever, we just grew organically. And the goal was never to make money, the goals. It was just, we wanted to be involved in the sport, and especially me as a coach, I just wanted to have my own space and create my own team and just make an impact in boxing and do it my way, And so we came up with Madfit, Matt and Don, Madfit MMA, and from there we just grew from strength to strength. And now we've had the gym 8 years, and it's been a cool journey. And obviously, I think when we started in 2015, we had 80 square meters of space.
Wow.
So it was a storeroom. So one guy I knew, he owned a gym, and then he's like, he has a storeroom we could use. So we were like, cool, let's do it.
Nice.
And then now we at where we are.
Wow. And before that, what was sort of your like your start in boxing, or how did you get involved in boxing?
So when I grew up in Johannesburg, in the south of Johannesburg. My dad and my grandfather boxed in the Olympics, and he was a Commonwealth gold medalist.
Oh, wow.
And he had 3 brothers that were his sparring partners, and they were also involved in boxing. And so it goes way back then. And Lenny Leisching, he opened one of the first boxing stores, like to sell boxing equipment in the country at that time.
Wow.
It was in Rosettenville, and he used to sell boxing shoes and gloves. And I think that must have been in the 70s. I must ask my dad, but 70s, 60s, maybe a bit later, maybe the 80s. I was like, and then, we've always been involved. And, it's funny, some boxers that are retired now came to me and they would say, their first pair of boxing shoes was from my grandfather, well, my great uncle. They were all involved, and they said their first pair of boxing shoes was through him. And it's quite, we heard some cool stories from back in the day. So I always heard about it. And then growing up in the South, boxing was always a thing we did, or, my dad was always involved. And so, when I was about 13, he took me to the gym, and I trained in Turfentine at a gym called Box Office. It's still there at the moment. It's been there many years, Southern Suburbs. Actually, that's where my grandfather and my great uncle and them trained also at Southern Suburbs. So it's literally generations down.
Yeah, there's a lineage there already.
So I just went and I enjoyed it, and I trained a lot, and I just loved the sport. Held my own. When I went to boxing, it wasn't something that I didn't want to coach. I didn't start boxing to become a coach. Just something I enjoyed. And as I got older, I moved to Cape Town, and then when I got here, boxing obviously was a little bit behind Johannesburg. So
what's the reason for that? Is it just
I just think boxing's just in Joburg, it's just been around such a long time. All the main champions were from there, still are. The promoters are all there. Boxing's had it in Cape Town. Boxing's had its champions, and it's it's still, there is a big boxing culture here, but just not like Joburg, And then when I came here, I was looking for a gym and looking for a coach, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. If I was going to maybe try to be a professional boxer, I felt I was half decent. Or was I I wasn't sure, so I thought, let me see what Cape Town has. I didn't want to, not that I didn't want to live in Johannesburg, but my mother wanted me here, and she kept telling me I hated it here when I moved, but she's like, no, this is a better life. This is, you can go to the beach and surf and not get into
nicer
fights.
scenery.
And, you don't have to look over your shoulder every single house party you're at growing up. And, you can just enjoy yourself, So anyway, and I just felt, I enjoyed it here, and I got involved in gyms, and a lot of people were coming to me for coaching. And I thought, I'm not going to coach, I'm 20 years old, what do I know about coaching? But I would just obviously tell them what I knew growing up, from a kid boxing. And I didn't realize, and I had a lot of really good guys around me, and and my knowledge at that age, I had something to offer to Cape Town. And then I just got really busy, and I had a full fight team by the time I was 20 or 21 here. Then I was trying to do my own training, but I was training guys, and I was making a decent living from that was at that gym under the church in Harrington Street. It was Harrington's boxing gym, and it changed to East City Boxing Gym. And a lady owned it. She was a Dutch lady, and she didn't know much about boxing. So she was sort of said, Matt, there was 2 other trainers there. One guy from Spain, another former South African champion. Kundile, he was quite good, a good mentor for me. And it was us 3, and then we just ran the gym, and we had a fight team. And around that age, I sort of realized maybe coaching is something I could do, and maybe I have a gift for it. I believe like fighting's a gift, and so is coaching. Not anyone can fight, anyone can throw a punch, but not anyone can fight, and not anyone can coach. I believe it's a gift that, with boxing, it's something you can't go get a certificate to become a boxing coach. You like a personal trainer, I can do a few courses, learn how to lunge, learn how to squat, bench press, whatever. But boxing, it's a very specialized. It's a boxing coach is also more of a feeling, you know. You can't go to the book by the book to be a boxing coach, and I realized that, and you know, everyone's different, and pad work is maybe 1%. People hold pads and they think they're a boxing coach. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's
personal trainers do it themselves as well. You talk about personal training.
I've seen some, which is fine. That's box fit, you know. But training fighters and fighters trusting you, and you putting someone in a potential situation where they can die. That's what people forget. You know, when someone's in there to become a world champion or to win something, and they're training hard for it and they put their hearts on the line, that's war in there, and someone can die, you know. So you got to know what you're doing. You got to understand the sport for a long time, and and I felt I was just building that experience, and then I started meeting more fighters, and I grew from there, and I boxed in a tournament when I was 23 in Harrington's boxing gym. They had like an in-house thing. Thought, let me just do one more and see how it goes. And then after that fight, I lost, and I realized, I was like, maybe this, you know, I'm coaching, and maybe this fighting is not 100% competing. Maybe isn't what I'm in the sport for. And I was conflicted, but the coaching I just got so much more satisfaction from it. And and I just thought, let me just pursue this and see how, you know, if I can add to the sport, and if I can bring something different to the table and create champions and create something, you know. And now I'm 33, and it's been 10 years, and I feel like I'm building something, and I have made a difference. And I just never looked back since then.
Was it a tough conversation that you had to have with yourself? Like, was it a tough thing when you kind of realized that you didn't want to box, or was it more kind of like, you know what, it's just a confirmation, I should be a coach, like this is what I should be doing?
I think it's the hardest part is the ego.
Yeah.
So you're watching guys spar, then you're like, maybe I could show this guy, or I could show that guy, and then that transition where, you know, you that ego, dropping your ego and putting your ego aside and saying, this is not about you anymore. Looking at someone and being like, how can I make him better? Yeah. Not looking at someone and thinking, oh, this guy's my height, my size. Maybe I should do 2 rounds with him and see if I you know,
I can still hang,
you know, and then. But it's more, that can be, and I think that's a hard part for anyone, you know, dropping that ego and being like, okay, maybe let me see how I can make this fighter better. You know, what can I do for him? And then, you know, putting your fitness aside, putting your, you know, becoming more of a pad holder, and, you know, being a coach is like a selfless thing. You know, nothing's about you. It's all about a fighter. You know, all about the people around you, which you know is fulfilling for some, but others not. You know, that's for some guys. Some guys coach, some guys fight. But it was difficult, but I knew in my heart that I wasn't going to be anything in boxing. You know, I was decent maybe, but I wasn't going to be anything. And especially realizing that the opportunity, there was no systems in place where there was a path you could take to be somebody, you know. Right. And, you know, that's very important. What I try to create now is, you know, give a young fighter with talent, you know, give him a path from when he's 15 years old, train him to a certain age, let him have a fight, you know, build him safely as an amateur, you know, get him into the nationals as an amateur, grow him, and then turn him pro at the right time, and just have a system, because that's what I thought was lacking, you know, where you don't know what to do next. You know, should I fight? Should I not fight? Should I, you know, and those things that I realized that was lacking, I obviously implemented as a coach, and, you know, it actually grew me as a coach, and actually added to what I did as a coach, and sort of going through it that way was I used those experiences to make me a better coach.
And I guess the good thing is that you know, if you realized, or if in your mind that you realized you wouldn't make it, or be at the level that you need to be at least you didn't push yourself to unnecessary damage, you know. And you push at a young age, you kind of realize that you don't have to be sort of a journeyman, for lack of a better term, and maybe take unnecessary damage.
You know, like I thought, especially I was having success as a coach earlier. You know, I was young, so I just thought, and I thought also I thought I got a bit more of a business mind too. You know, I was thinking, okay, if you 20 and you're having an amateur fight in a professional fight in South Africa, you make 4,000 rand.
Is that all?
Yeah, to fight.
Really? Is
Exactly.
it just a confirmed flat 4,000, or is it 2 to show, 2 to win?
No. Boxing's flat rate, but some promoters will pay you 6 grand for your first pro fight.
Wow.
So then I thought, well, I can make that off one client.
Yeah.
Could maybe make that
in the time of a fight camp,
No, I could make if I wanted to, I could probably make that in 1 week. You know what I mean, and not take any damage.
Yeah.
And then that's how I was starting to think. But it wasn't always about the money. But I was just thinking about my future.
That's smart.
I was thinking when I'm 30 now, when I'm 33, what am I going to have? I want to have something that I can build on, that I can live a good life with. I can create opportunities for others, because not everyone can think like that. Some fighters are just fighters. They're here, they want to fight. They don't think about anything else. That's who they are. They're a fighter. And those type of people need guidance.
Yeah.
And if they get the wrong guidance, they'll end up washed up. And like a lot of fighters should, in my opinion, a lot of fighters don't get paid what they're worth. A lot. Only the top 5% get paid what they're worth. I believe fighters, it's a sad thing, and if they don't have guidance, they're just going to get used over and over, So, I feel like that experience, I just use that to my advantage and just sort of help guys and went from there. And also trying to sort of, like, we have events and the pro shows, we've done Muay Thai pro fights, try to pay the guys a bit better and advise them a bit better on what fights to take. And because, the worst thing you can do is take the wrong fights. And it's, just adding value all around where we can,
Just making everything better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You need mentors in life and everything.
Exactly.
And I mean, particularly when you're putting your life on the line, literally.
People don't understand the average person, that's even people that are in the gym, or it's just people don't understand how brutal it is. I don't think people understand, it's brutal. So taking a punch, you just got to, it's not worth it. And a lot of some coaches have egos, and they believe that I need to put my fighter in the situation to fight this person because I want him to
live
win.
through them.
But you're not the one taking the punches. Think about that, you can't just put someone in the ring and believe, okay, my guy's the best ever, he can beat anyone, put him in the ring. But he's the one taking the punches. You got to look after him, and so
no, for sure. You mentioned the guided path, like as an amateur. You see a lot of guys go into the South Africa, like, I don't know, they do Olympic trials, right? To get to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to go about it, or do you think amateur organizations are better?
So we have Sanabo is obviously our amateur organization in the country, and they're decent. There's some good talent that goes through. What I've been doing now the last 2 years. Before, for a long time, I was only training professional boxers, professional fighters. And then I thought, 2 years ago, I thought, let me take a step back, and I want to develop my own talent. I want to develop a fighter from complete scratch, from not even a white collar fight, straight through, see how they can do it amateur, if they can get to a national level. If you win nationals, you can get chosen for the South African team, then you go to African Games, and then maybe Commonwealth, and go through that route. It's difficult because there are a lot of politics in any sport, but that's the path you take. And that's what I sort of have been doing now the last 2 years, developing fighters from that. And there is a system, Sanabo is good. You go to districts, you win your district in your area. Then from there, you'll go to province, you win province. And then from there, you go to represent your province at nationals. This year, it's in Limpopo. I've got 2 guys there that are going to represent Western Province. And there's some good talent, and it's good for the guys, And then nationals, you win nationals, and then you hopefully you get picked in the SA team, and then from there we've had a few. Now we had a 2 boxers in the Commonwealth Games. We had a ladies boxing team that went to Turkey for the World Championships. So the amateur boxing, there's a lot of work to be done, but we are there, Olympics, we haven't been there in a while. I'm not sure I'm not sure what's happening if the Olympics, if we have a team. But building up to the Olympics, there has been, the amateur scene isn't bad in the country. Western Cape, when we went to Western Province, there was 200 boxers there.
Wow.
They competed. And I was, some really good talent from youth all the way up. So yeah.
And then from the amateur to the professional space or sphere, how easy is that transition? Not from a fighting standpoint, being ready, but more just like getting a person, from amateur to pro.
Yeah, so it's a very gray area, because some fighters have been really successful with no amateur fights.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys at the moment. I don't know if you know Kevin Lorena.
Yeah.
He never fought as an amateur.
Not one fight.
Yeah. I think he had. I don't want to speak out, but I think he had 2, or he couldn't.
Yeah, but it's not like an extensive.
No. Yeah. I think Rourke. I don't know if you know Rourke Knapp.
No,
he's a really good fighter. One of the top fighter now. He's in South Africa. I don't think he had much of an amateur background, and he's really doing well. I think he's in the top 30 in the world now.
Wow.
So yeah, so it just depends. But then if you look at the really top guys in the world, they've all had, international guys, they've all had 200 amateur fights, 100 amateur fights. So, then you get some fighters like Rocky Marciano. He only had 8 amateur fights.
And then you've got 49-0 in pro.
49 as a pro and and he was a small heavyweight.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's a great area. That's the whole thing about knowing your fighter and knowing the game. So now I've turned my 2 fighters pro now, Kaylee and Dylan. So Kaylee won the nationals. She's a really good junior featherweight. She's really good. She's having a pro debut in June, and Dylan's been to 2 nationals, 25 amateur fights, light heavyweight, good, hardworking kid. So 25 fights, I feel like he can transition quite well now into it. And I feel he's ready. But I think the biggest thing is training like a professional is the most difficult part for the guys. So I think as a coach, you got to understand and look, is this person training like a professional, acting like a professional, diet, sleeping, recovery? That's the difference. As amateur, you can get away with that. It's 3 rounds. You can get away with, maybe
slacking on 1 or 2.
Having a cheat meal. You don't go to training that week or whatever. But professional, that's the big difference. You're getting paid to be there. You're professional. You got to be at training, no matter how you feel. It's a job now. You're fighting for. Potentially you could become a world champion. It's your career. So the training is very different, and training like a professional is, because the fight's easier than, training 8 weeks is tough, but the fight's easier, it's only one more round more than a amateur fight, 3 rounds. Your first professional fight's 4 rounds. So it's the fight's easier, but you're gonna have to put in 8-week camp, and then you know your weight. The amateur weights, there's a 5 kilo gap. So if you want to fight at 71 to 76 or 71 to 75, I think it is 4 kilo, you can be 71 and you can fight a guy that's 75. There's that gap. Or you 73 and professional, it's you're contracted there. You got to be a little bit below on the money, and it's just a bit more. It's different, So the training and the professionalism is what's important with the guys. And a lot of fighters, a lot of athletes, that's the hardest part is the nutrition, eating clean, being disciplined at home. The gym's easy for a lot of guys, but it's what you do at home, not eating, not going out and it's just difficult. It's a different life.
It's a 24-hour job when you've got to be on diet.
Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah. And then so when you're coming up in the pro ranks, what are your thoughts on boxing just in general, like in people coming in the pro ranks? Because a lot of people think like a lot of pro boxers have like a bit of they're a little bit easier fights in the beginning, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Is that like, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is it because the people want or the coaches want their fighters to be ready and just be sure, or like, what do you think it is that way? And if it is, why?
I think fighting in general, all disciplines, if as a coach you have to be smart in how you match your fighter, at least for the first 10 fights. I feel it depends, like if you get super talents like Lomachenko, where he was fighting for a world title on his 3rd fight or 2nd fight or whatever it was, but he had 2 gold medals. But I think as a coach, there's nothing wrong with building your fighter to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I don't believe, because you don't want him to get now shown up. Say he's fought absolutely nobody for his 12 fights, and then his 13 fights, he fights someone with a bit of a winning record, and then he gets hurt, because he's never. So it's a very fine line, I believe, but you have to build your fighter. If you can be a great fighter, but if you take the wrong fight at the wrong time, you get knocked out. That could be the end of your career. It doesn't mean that you weren't going to be great. It's just it was the wrong fight. It's so important, the timing of your fights, So if someone's transitioning from an amateur fight, an amateur background, it's his pro debut, and he's got potential, sometimes you think guys have a record of 8 fights and 6 losses and maybe 2 wins or 2 draws. You think that's an easy fight, but it's not, because some of those guys have had tough fights. They've been around, and you think, okay, my fighter, he's a top amateur. Let me put him in with this guy who's had 7 losses, but he's been around. He's gone 10 rounds. He's maybe more mature. He's stronger. He might not be as technically as good, and you can get your young prospect hurt. So I just think you have to, even in MMA, I believe, or any combat sport, you have to build your fighter to a point, I believe.
I was going to ask you this a little bit later on your thoughts on it, but I think maybe now's a good time to ask you, because like the guys like Jake Paul and KSI, like celebrity boxers now, what are your thoughts on them? Because it ties into the previous question, because a lot of people have been saying like, Jake Paul, for example, needs to fight a real boxer and fight a real boxer. And I agree. I mean, eventually he has to get there. But if you think about it, he's actually really smart. Whoever's getting his fights is really smart, because he's testing the waters and he's getting that like in-ring experience.
Exactly.
But at the same time, the people he's fighting are known to combat sports. They're not boxers, but they're bad guys, like they're badasses, so
exactly.
He builds up his reputation by KOing them, and he makes a stack of money at the same time, where other people, he said, can you name me Floyd Mayweather's 4th opponent? And I think it's smart. What do you
exactly? I mean, he's with Jake, he's got a big name, so people want to see him, and anybody will fight him because they know it's going to be a big payday. So he uses that to his advantage. So that's why he'll get like he's done Tyron Woodley, but I believe that they had a conversation before those fights, You
reckon?
I think so. I think maybe not, but I believe Jake said, listen, this is what I'm going to pay you, let's spar, make me look good. Or, I don't believe Tyron, and I don't believe that knockout was real either.
Really?
I don't believe it was real.
I heard there was a clause in there. There was like a no knockout clause, and Tommy Fury was talking about like, you're not gonna have a no knockout clause in this.
I'm
our
telling
fight.
You, there's a lot, but when it comes to boxing, never put anything boxing.
Really,
a lot of things go on in the background, So but I think Jake, he's a white collar boxer, I would say. But he's fighting professional rules, and he's bringing eyes to the sport, and he's a strong, athletic guy. He'll never be a boxer. He is a boxer. He gets in the ring. He's fought 8 rounds. I would say he's a boxer. But he's not going to be a champion, or he's not going to. I mean, he didn't beat Tommy Fury. You know what I mean? And if you look at boxing, you look at like real prospects that are coming up now. It's next. It's not even Jake Paul and them won't even feature there. But there's different, and there's not everyone wants to be Jake Paul. He talks about being a world champion.
Fighting Canelo and stuff like that.
That's why he's fighting Nate Diaz now. Which is a great fight for him, because he looks for guys with big names, but are not. We all Nate's got stand up for the cage, and I think he's a great fighter, tough fighter, but as a boxer, I don't know if he'll transition well to that. He's also Jake's naturally bigger than him, so he does that also.
Yeah.
And Nate's not going to really train for this fight, I don't think. He's a payday, and
he's smoking weed like career, every day.
Yeah, so Jake picks the guys the right way, and he that's the thing. The guys are now looking for. It's all about the pay-per-view money, Right. So the guys now will rather fight someone that brings eyes to the sport, will watch the fight, but he's not a high risk fight, So fighting Nate Diaz is a low risk, high reward fight. So it's
For
not a risky fight, but the reward is massive because everyone knows Nate. If he beats Nate, he's gonna have, Nate's got a name. But why would he fight someone that could maybe hurt him and that no one knows? So those are the same with Tank. When Tank fought Ryan Garcia, they're not even in the same league. They're not even in the same. I believe they're miles apart. But the general public, that doesn't really understand boxing, because Ryan Garcia looks quick on his speed bag and he's a good fighter, but you get levels. And I believe Tank sold that fight to everybody because he knew the pay-per-views Ryan brings, and he took that fight because he's like, this is going to be his easiest payday ever, and it was. I mean, Tank didn't even fight. It wasn't even a sparring session for Tank, so I mean, Tank's had 12 world title fights. Ryan's had nothing. That was his first one. So that's what the guys are doing, and I don't blame them. You got to make the money in the sport, there's legacy, and I think that's what Tank's got. So why not take a fight like this, make big money from it, and it's an easier fight. So it's a business at the end of the day, which you can't blame the guys for doing. What Jake's doing, you can't blame him. He's still getting in the ring. Just sparring is a big deal. Sparring 4 rounds is tough. You know what I mean? Now he's getting in the ring with those 10-ounce gloves. You can't knock him. I mean, really, it's not easy. No matter if he's fighting washed up guys or whoever he's fighting, it's still tough. So you have to take your hat off to him.
Is he a good fighter? I mean, like I'm not talking about the top tier guys. I mean, you already said he's never gonna really fight the top tier guys. But is he a good fighter? Is he a decent fighter? Like, how would you assess his level?
No, I don't think he's a. I think for instance, I think there's. Yeah, I don't think he's a decent fighter. I think...
Is he average, is he below average? Like what Eddie Hearn said, you're average. That's a compliment. And if you saw that, is he less than average? Or?
I think he's less than average.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really not great. I mean, he throws... When he fought Tommy, his fight IQ is not so great, and he just throws overhands. That's what beginners do. That's what guys do at my gym that have been boxing 1 year. Throw overhands like that, and
he telegraphs a lot as well, right?
And but he only started boxing for the amount of time he's been boxing. He's good.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you say he's average.
It's relative.
Yeah, we depend who we compare him to. If you're comparing him to a prospect, one of Eddie Hearn's prospects that's 3-0, you can't compare. If you're comparing him to YouTubers,
of course,
he's good. If you're comparing him to just
the
depends.
top ranked guys, he's not even in the conversation.
It's not even in. He won't. If he had to spar a top guy that has it comes from a 80 fight amateur background, and you put them in the ring, Jake Paul won't land a punch. He will not land a punch. He's a white collar guy. If I put a white collar guy in the ring, if I put a guy with 20 amateur fights in the ring at my gym with Don, the part they're so far apart where if you had to see him hitting the bag, the amateur would be like, geez, this guy is
good.
He's really good. Yes, he's good for an amateur. Then you put him in with someone like Don, he does not land a punch. That it's chalk and cheese. So that's what people don't understand, So Jake's really good for what he's for a YouTuber, and he's a good athlete, and he's getting in the ring. Anybody that gets in the ring, you take your hats off to them. It doesn't matter who they're fighting. So from that point of view, of course, you have to take your hat off to the guy, but you can't compare him to any other prospect in the world. No ways.
Yeah. Well, he's going to keep making money regardless, I guess. Exactly. So that's his whole shtick. Yeah. So.
And he's bringing eyes to the sport. I think a lot of people hate on him, but I mean, look what he got Amanda Serrano paid. She fought Katie Taylor. He promoted that fight with Eddie Hearn, got her a massive payday. All the other fighters on the undercard got a massive payday. I think he's done a few shows. I'm not too, but he's bringing massive money to the sport. He's actually making a big difference in the sport. People, so yeah, you can't knock him.
And I want to ask you about the difference, about boxing and boxing for MMA. Like, as a trainer, and then also for fighters, like how, okay, a guy like Don obviously has a big and extensive striking background, but how easily do fighters like usually transition? From the ones that have a striking background, and then the ones maybe say like, I don't know, I don't think BK had much of a striking background before he started working with
wrestling
you.
Background.
It was all the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So how easy do you see guys and girls transition, into boxing having had no background, particularly in MMA?
From MMA. See, if you can fight MMA I believe, with 4-ounce gloves, and you can be sharp with those gloves, but you're watching for kicks, you're watching for takedowns, you're watching for elbows, you'll be sharp in a boxing ring. If you come from, so look at guys like Conor McGregor. He fought Mayweather. He did well against Mayweather, who's considered one of the best of all time.
Especially defensively.
So old school boxers will tell you, MMA guys can't box. It's a different sport, yes. But if you can fight with 4-ounce gloves and you're sharp and you can make people miss with those gloves and not get hit with them, and watching kicks, you can fight boxing. Boxing's it's not, you might not become, because it's not all you do, but you'll be decent enough to give a lot of guys a go, you know. I think also boxing with 4-ounce gloves is very different, you know. You have to be sharp. You can't really catch punches a lot, you know. You got to be sharper, you know, use your parries, get your distance. You got to make sure you don't get hit. Boxing, you know, you can sit in the pocket a bit, and, you know, you can take on the gloves.
Shoulder roll or
whatever. You know, MMA, you got to be sharp. So, you know, training MMA guys, boxing for MMA, you know, I believe the guard's a little bit different, you know, when you're in trouble, a bit higher, but also you fight a longer game. And if you get close on the inside, you'll rather make contact than, you know, mixing it up on the inside. And, you know, you'll use more speed because the gloves are smaller. So you don't need to sit on your punch as much. You know, you use more. You can hurt someone with those 4-ounce gloves. You don't need a lot of power to hurt someone with them. So it's a few adjustments, but boxers must never disrespect MMA guys, stand up, never. They I mean, Dricus has come to my gym we're good friends, me and Dricus, and when he's in Cape Town, we always train together. Actually, me and Dricus met when he was 20 years old. I already knew then he was going to be something special, and a lot of people have something to say about his style, but Dricus has speed. When we hit pads and we're boxing and sparring, he's got speed, he's got head movement. Dricus could be a good boxer. Definitely could do something in boxing. He's got, and he obviously comes from the kickboxing background, you know. But a lot of boxers won't believe me when I say that, you know. Like when I had my SA heavyweight champion, Tian, he was 6'8" or 6'8.5". Yeah, very good, very very lanky, tall heavyweight. He won the belt with me, and him and Dricus sparred at my gym. And Dricus held his own, but now this is a heavyweight.
6'8".
Only boxers. You know, Dricus really held his own, landed good shots. That was for me. I was watching something. This is a really entertaining boxing fight if it was one. Now, if you know, Dricus had to box against a cruiserweight guy, Don, all these guys, even BK, you must see BK box. You know, because it's still fighting, and I believe boxing is one of such an important discipline in MMA. You have to be comfortable with your hands. And these days, especially now, all the guys can box. So,
in MMA specifically, everybody it used to be a thing of like someone would be, you know, especially their background was Muay Thai or their background was Jiu-Jitsu. You know, like if their background's Jiu-Jitsu, they're going to want to grapple with you.
Exactly.
If it's kickboxing, they're going to want to stand with you or Muay Thai. But now it's like kickboxers are good at grappling and grapplers are good at striking. So no one's got weaknesses at all.
You know, a lot of people but it's weird because in the MMA world, especially internationally, a lot of the guys talk about Don's Muay Thai. But I don't know anything about grappling. But Don's a black belt, and his grappling is just as good.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes you get labeled with that. Oh, he's only a kickboxer, or you know, it still sometimes happen. Or you come from a wrestling background like BK. His last fight, BK's dad came to me. He's like, I never knew my son could box.
Yeah.
What do you think we do here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? BK can box.
Yeah.
He boxes all my guys, all my top amateurs there. All the guys are bigger than him. He held his own head movement, hand speed, as we saw in his fight. You know, now he's mixing it up with his wrestling.
Yeah.
Now he's becoming
even more of a nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah, I still said to him, I was like, dude, because that he mentioned you when I had him on the podcast as well, and I was like, dude, your striking has just gone to the next level. And I was obviously, you know, he had because of that head kick knockout. I was like, you know, how nice is it to train with Don to learn like the kicks and everything. And then he was like, no, Don, of course, you know, Don's taught him that, but he's like, no, Matt, bro, with the hands. Like he was talking about it like
you know,
and it shows.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, you know, and I never thought maybe a few years ago that I would be involved in MMA as a striking coach. But I really enjoy it. You know, something I will always do, and especially with owning the gym with Don. You know, we'll always have the MMA guys come through. Yeah, and I love it. And like seems like the MMA guys also enjoy, you know, being comfortable with their hands. It just, yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah.
What about the footwork? Is there much in terms of difference in the footwork, or do you train MMA guys to be good boxers, or do you
good boxers then tweak a little MMA?
Okay, for MMA.
So
okay.
Footwork, the standard footwork of boxing will help no matter what, you know. But there's different, depends on the fighter's style, you know. And sometimes if a fighter, if he shoots better from a southpaw stance for double leg or single leg or whatever, so maybe at that moment we'll train the footwork to change in that stance to make him comfortable to transition to what he wants to do.
Right.
But the standard boxing footwork, the good feet, shuffling right, not crossing your legs, all those basics, those work for MMA. I believe it's foot. You have to have a good base for any striking, you know, and feet help you have that good base. So yeah, it's sort of standard, but the defense and all that I do differently for the MMA.
And we've seen a lot of we saw obviously Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather box each other, and now Conor McGregor's calling out Canelo, which I think is not good for him, in my opinion. But also now John Jones and Tyson Fury, like we saw that whole little back and forth. It's not going to go anywhere probably.
Yeah.
But you know, hypothetical scenario, you know, like how do you think John Jones would do in a boxing match? Okay, Tyson Fury is like going to the top of the top.
Yeah.
But you know, John Jones in say like against a top heavyweight.
I think he would hold his own. I don't think he would hold his own against Fury because Fury's a freak, 6'9", moves like a middleweight. He's can't hit him, power, speed, it doesn't get tired. But maybe John Jones against a cruiserweight and a guy that's had the same amount, maybe a guy with 10 boxing fights, or maybe a guy with 1 or 2 boxing fights, because I don't think John Jones had a boxing fight. A prospect, you know, he would hold his own 100%. Like that's like I say, if you can hold your own in striking with 4-ounce gloves, you will definitely hold your own. If you had to only do a boxing camp and only train boxing for maybe 3 months, he'll definitely hold his own. Definitely. Look at Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, against Chavez Jr.
He beat Chavez Jr.
Yeah. Dude, that was, so Anderson Silva back in, I'm trying to think of the years now, when he was at his prime, he actually had talks of fighting Roy Jones Jr. Like that was like his dream.
Yeah.
And people were like laughing at him. And I think it's that whole thing, like what you were saying is like people in the boxing world are thinking, as an MMA guy, he can't do it, you know. And then what is Anderson Silva, like 49 or something now?
49, old man.
Beats Chavez Jr.
And he took Jake the distance.
Okay, but you don't know about Jake now. Like we said earlier,
look, that fight looked competitive, I think. But Jake didn't need to pay Silva off. He knew Silva's 40. Surely Silva's 49 years old, smaller. You know, he's not. You know, but 49 years old, you're holding your own against a guy like Jake Paul, who's athletic, hits hard. You know,
half your age.
49. To fight at 49, a lot of guys retire at 30 and they feel old. Imagine 49. He's unreal. That's the thing. Even look at Boyd Allen, our local guy.
Yeah.
Boyd comes from, Boyd is a hybrid. He does both, hybrid athlete. But look at what he does in boxing. But I'm not too sure, but I think he did have a few amateur boxing fights. But for a long time, he only fought MMA, transitioned to professional boxing. He beat Brandon Taser, who for me, Brandon Taser is one of the best junior middleweights in the world in boxing. I think he's a really good fighter. Boyd beat him, and then Boyd rematched him, but it didn't go his way. But that's an MMA athlete, another example of him doing really well in boxing, really, really well. You know, so
Boyd's always been known for his hands. I mean, like, and
exactly. But he's an MMA. He's more of an MMA fighter than a boxer. You know, in his career, and look what he does. He was a champion in the boxing. You know, he won an African title, and so there's many examples how MMA guys can really box, and that's why wouldn't John Jones? Why couldn't John Jones become a boxing champion? Definitely can. That would be interesting. Eh?
I'd like to see it. I don't know. You'd have to pick his opponent properly, like you say, Fury.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
What about Wilder? Is that too much?
No.
I mean, if he trained, if let's say John Jones dedicated himself for the next 4 or 5 years and decided, like, okay, listen, I'm gonna box in 5 years' time. I'm gonna box. I'm just gonna focus on boxing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to say, I guess, because you don't know until.
The thing is, Wilder's had 10 defenses of a WBC world title. That's in that team. That's matching Muhammad Ali's record.
Right.
If he hits you, you go to sleep. And the thing is, that's a different animal. He's got one of the highest KO ratios ever in boxing. So that's a different, it would be unfair to compare John Jones to that, but also, John Jones, how does he walk around? What did he weigh in now for this last fight?
I think high 230s with like low 240s.
So that's 120.
110.
110.
Yeah. 240 is 100 is about 110, 112.
Yeah, okay, that's big. That's a nice.
But he's over. Boxing. I mean, to be honest, he's not. Yeah. I mean, he's better at 205, which is what 93.
See, boxing, there's a bridgerweight, which is 101. So now they've got the new. So 101, he would do because heavyweights in boxing, though, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, those are big boys.
Yeah.
So he's not he's big, but he's not naturally that big, So he made 101. I definitely think he would be able to do something in boxing, no doubt. Definitely, be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I mean, I know Francis Ngannou wants to box and promote and everything, and he's interesting because of the power. But does that translate from MMA to
to power
boxing?
Translates everywhere, I think. Think of if he catches you clean with 10 ounce. This is what also people understand. Boxing gloves are a lot bigger than MMA gloves, they say. But when they're on, they're not that big. 10 ounce gloves, heavyweights, if they can fit their hand in, they fight in 10 ounce gloves. You know how small a 10 ounce glove is. So with Francis Ngannou with a brand new hard 10 ounce glove and he catches you, you're going to go to sleep. It's not pillows, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's pillows maybe compared to 4 ounce, but it's still, this the guys, I mean, some people put on an 8 ounce glove because you fight under 69 kilos, you fight with an 8 ounce glove. Let someone put on an 8 ounce glove and like a Reyes glove or especially a Reyes and see how small that glove is. It's hectic. It's like a rock. It's like someone throwing rocks at you when you eat. I don't know how. I don't know how guys can fight 12 rounds like that. If you really think about it and you feel those gloves, it's unreal. That's why you're a different human to be in there. To be at that level, you're different. So with Francis with 10 ounce gloves, it will translate, and you'll put Oaks to sleep if they're not careful. Definitely.
Okay. Because I like when I look at Conor and Floyd. He hit him the one clear shot. He hit him with a nice uppercut, flush. It was clean or clean enough. I mean, and it didn't look like it phased Floyd. Okay, it's Floyd Mayweather, so I mean, it's a different animal. But in MMA, you usually see him hit that shot, and people collapse.
I think, but Conor's a precision puncher. He's not a power puncher. You know what I mean? Like Francis is a power puncher.
Yeah.
So, but I think Conor McGregor, he did in the first 4 rounds, he did hurt Floyd a little. And Floyd knew, but the thing is, Floyd knew Conor was going to gas. He can't keep up that pace. And I think Conor, so like Conor, he's more of a precision guy, with those small gloves. He's not a guy that hits you with a thud, like poof, poof, like that type of guy. Yeah, that type of thudding punch with gloves with 10 ounce. You're like Francis, he's not a touch precision. He's like boom,
it goes through you.
So he'll feel it,
Where so what is the just in boxing now with the different like WBC and the different organizations, why are there so many? Like, what are there's 4 major ones, right? So why is that? Has it just always been that way? Because like one of the hard things like now is like, I don't know, do people go and fight in all for organization like
So
or bodies or
it has become, a lot of people complain about it as the years go by, but it does bring excitement to the sport in a way, because now you get undisputed champion. You know, who's the main guy? Who's going to win all the belts? You know, there's been a lot of undisputed fights coming up. Now there was Katie Taylor and Josh Taylor, and who else was undisputed? You know, so it's bringing excitement to the sport. But obviously, back in the day, there was only 8 weight divisions and 1 world title.
Was it WBC or what was the one?
Good question, eh? That's a good question. I wonder what the oldest belt is. That's a good question. I wonder what the might be. I don't think it's WBC.
Yeah,
I would love to see that.
What are the 4? Is it WBC?
So you get WBC, WBO, RBF, Ring Magazine, WBO. Did I say WBO?
WBO, yeah. That's the green one with all the flags, right? Yeah.
So the undisputed RBF, WBC, WBO, Ring Magazine.
Okay, so those 4.
Did I leave any out? Did I say W? I did say W.
Yeah.
Those 4, the main ones. Those are the ones you want, you know. And but if you want the individual one, a lot of fighters feel that, a lot of people feel that WBC is the most prestigious belt to have, which I think I would say it is. You know, it's the one that everyone wants. But yeah, now back in the day, it was 8 divisions and 1 world title. That's quite something. Eh? Imagine it was still like that. That would be interesting, because now some guys are WBA regular champions. So there's a WBA world champion, then you're WBA is also one of them.
Yeah.
So WBA.
So are there 5?
Yeah.
Jeez.
This is WBA, WBC, WBO, RBF.
The Ring Magazine. Yeah.
There's 5.
Wow.
So the thing is, now there's a WBA champion, then there's a WBA regular champion. Both world champions. They haven't fought each other. So it's
confusing me right now.
Yeah, I'm still confused. I still get confused. You know, then there's it is confusing, and a lot of people complain and they just want a world champ. You know, but they say now they're saying the undisputed is that one main guy. If you were the undisputed, which is quite nice, because you have unification fights, which is quite cool. You know, the RBF champions fighting the WBO champion. That's exciting. You know, then he unifies and he's got 2 belts, and then the WBC champion will fight the unified champion. So it's interesting. There's a lot more money. It brings more money in the sport. I think that's what MMA needs. You know, unification bouts. But I don't think it will ever happen, because the promoters in MMA own the belts.
Yeah.
Promoters in boxing don't own the belts. You know, the organization, the sanctioning body owns the belts. So, you know, imagine we could have an undisputed MMA champion.
PFL versus UFC, or one versus UFC.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Pride versus UFC. So they unified it when the UFC bought Pride, but that was like just to get rid of the Pride belt back in the day. You know,
so imagine you could have an undisputed heavyweight champion. So Francis and John Jones fight in the for the PFL and the UFC, and then the one championship. I don't know who the heavyweight champion is.
I also don't. I'll be honest. Yeah,
the heavyweight champion, he gets in the mix, and then the Bellator champion gets in the mix,
and then you get Brave, UAE Warriors, Aries, whoever. You're just going to make the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, you just make the top. So you do PFL, UFC, one championship, and maybe Bellator. Those will be the undisputed to have all 4 belts.
Right.
Now imagine you could do that. Yeah. That would be huge. That's why there's so much more money in boxing also. There's huge money in boxing. And now in MMA at the top level too. So, but no, I don't think it'll ever happen. Why would Dana White or
give up money or anything like that?
The UFC, the numbers the UFC are bringing, no one comes near. So now why must the UFC, imagine the UFC and PFL have a belt. Why would Dana, why would he do that?
You do it?
He doesn't need to, he owns the game. He's the boss. It's the UFC is the biggest promotion in the world in fight combat. Like in combat sport, nothing comes near it. I heard the revenue. I don't even know.
They made 390 million in profit apparently.
Boxing doesn't even come near that.
Really?
Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and that, they don't make that money.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So, okay,
I'm saying
because of
the promoters,
of course, because
yeah.
Dana White essentially is the one promoter for the year. Okay, I get what you're saying.
But obviously the purses for the guys' purses, yeah. I mean, look what these guys are earning. Fury, I don't even know what he made for that last fight, and Joshua's making huge money in Saudi. I don't know, $80 million or something ridiculous.
I think they offered Fury's team said on Rogan's podcast that they offered guaranteed, they had proof of funds to give Joshua 80 million, and he turned it down. Apparently, this is like obviously before the Usyk fights.
Yes.
So before he'd lost.
Yeah.
Well, actually, even before Anthony Ruiz, before he lost that fight.
Yeah. Before then.
Before that, then they offered him 80 million, and he said nah. But that was back when they were trying to just get as much money for the fights with as low risk as possible. Because Fury said that he took the risk in the Klitschko fight and it almost didn't pay off.
Yeah.
So then they were like, okay, let's wait a little bit now.
It's a business, you know what I mean? You know, you want to have longevity in the sport, you know, and make money. It's the toughest sport in the world, you know. So it's, even at that level, guys are picking the right fights at the right time. But eventually there's a time where you're going to have to risk something, you know, like Fury with Klitschko at that time. Fury was a youngster. Klitschko was most dominant champion, 10 or 12 years unbeaten. Fury was like, I don't know, must have been 27 or 26 years old. No one knew him. You must watch the build up of that fight. Fury was, you know, he didn't look the part. He was fat, and
he still took his shirt off in the press conference. He's like, "That's a world champion." He's like, I think it was after he beat him the first time. He's like, he grabs all his fat. He's like, "This is what a world champion looks like." He's like, "You should be embarrassed that I look like this and I beat you."
Crazy, So he put. But I think at that time also his team, obviously his dad and his uncle, they obviously saw what they had in Fury, and they're like, no, his style and the amount of experience he had at the time. He was obviously they knew he was ready to beat Klitschko. Especially if I look back at that fight, how stiff and robotic Klitschko is compared to Fury. You know, those styles, Fury was bound to win. You know, with that movement and how jittery he is and how feint he is and all his feints, and Klitschko has to stand and bomb you with that right hand. You know? But still, Fury, to do what he did at that age with Klitschko, people don't, look how many years later did Klitschko nearly beat AJ? 7 years later or something. I don't know how Fury was like 42. So it just shows you, Fury's is good.
Where does dude, after the whole I call it an implosion, like the way that AJ acted after he lost to Usyk.
Hectic,
like, where is he going to go? Where does that go to now? I mean, because he was like the face of boxing.
I think he's so popular. There'll always be something for him. I mean, he's such a massive name. And I think, imagine him and Fury, they want to fight now in September, August or something, whatever he said. Imagine what they're going to get for that now. Still now. It will be. But I heard Anthony Joshua might fight Dylan White again.
Again,
yeah. He wants to. Obviously, he needs to rebuild.
He needs a performance. Shame, man. Dylan White seems to be the guy that everybody rebounds to.
So this is the thing. So there's always those Chisora, Dylan White.
If
you that guy in the sport, that's fine, but you got to be getting paid.
Yeah.
So Chisora beat Pulev now, okay, but before that he hasn't beat anyone. But he's making, I'm not sure, but I hear and I've seen and what I've read, he makes over £1 million a fight. But Fury now he made £2 million. Then it's okay to be a journeyman,
Yeah.
But if you're a journeyman, well, if you look at some of the British journeymen, some of them have 100 losses, and they're fighting twice a month, but they're making £4,000-5,000 a fight. That's good money.
It's good money,
twice a month.
But how are you losing though? That's the question. I mean, are you getting knocked out every time?
True. Yeah, you obviously got to look at yourself and be like, okay, if I'm getting brain dead. But some of those guys, they go, and then, but when you've had 100 fights, they know how to last, and people, it's a skill in itself.
They make it entertaining enough to a point, and then it's like,
people don't give them enough credit, and you need those guys in the sport. I forgot this one guy's name. I think he's had 120 losses, but he just keeps fighting, but he makes guys miss. All the top up and coming guys. He's got so much experience. He gives them a bit of a fight, and then obviously he taps out when,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you know, and he says he makes good, I must get his name, and he makes great money from it, and he's got a job too. You
Yeah.
know? So then some guys do that.
I guess he'd be fighting anyway. I mean, it's better than going and fighting in the back alleys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people used to do back in the days, I guess. But now what's what now? Are Fury and Usyk gonna actually? I know they just had a discussion, and then Usyk. I actually saw today the number that Usyk turned down was 30 million pounds. Fury said
13 million.
13 million pounds. So, I mean, is that the next? We spoke about unification. Is that a unification? Is that a undisputed bout?
That's undisputed.
Okay,
yeah.
so then Fury probably. I mean, because like Fury. Even after the Klitschko fight, he got into a massive depression because he's like, there's nothing left for me to do. I'm at the top of the mountain.
That's why, he's a type of guy that I think he always needs to fight. He always needs to be chasing a goal. I think if Fury sits at home, he'll go off the rails, or he'll be, So I think he'll always fight, and I think, but I do believe. When I looked at that whole thing, you're never sure what's going around behind the scenes and what's happening with Usyk and him. And there's so much to it, But from my take, the 70-30 split was a bit hectic from Fury's side, but also Fury is the draw, but Usyk has all the more belts than him, So 60-40 could have been maybe a bit better in my opinion, but he called for 70-30 and Usyk took it. But I think it was a rematch that was a problem, if I'm not mistaken. I think Usyk wanted a rematch, and then Fury said no rematch, and then everything fell apart. But it looked like, in my opinion, that Fury was trying to get his way, negotiate his way out of the fight.
Oh, really?
Because 70-30, I mean, okay, you got 70%, still not good enough, Give the guy a rematch, obviously, but I don't know the actual, the way I saw it, because now Fury is back and now he wants to fight. So I don't know if he wasn't ready then. He might not have had enough time. He wasn't fit. But that's the thing, you never know. But I don't think Fury is scared of Usyk or dodging Usyk. I just think that wasn't the right time for him, because 70-30, I mean, how much more fight? But Fury said the other day, he'll fight for free.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Said, I'll fight for free because he's made his money and he's a gypsy and he fights with honor, and, so it's not about money for him. But then he made it all about money for Usyk. But I think he was doing that because I think he wanted more time. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, it's all speculation, dude. You're never going to know. And I mean...
Yes, but I hope it happens.
Yeah.
It has to happen. Undisputed heavyweight championship fight. It has to happen.
How many times have there been... has there ever been So
I think Lennox Lewis was one undisputed.
Yeah.
There was the last one. I think,
Lennox. So if Lennox Lewis won it, then did he retire, and then the belts all go back to his fighting one each? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then there hasn't been since then. There hasn't been a undisputed heavyweight champion.
Sure. So that's what 25 years in the 25 years in the making.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I can't remember who he fought. Was it Holyfield? I must check. I don't want to.
Didn't he fight Hasim Rahman for the belts? Or was he already when he lost? Because I remember he lost to Hasim Rahman in Carnival City.
Knocked him out.
Crazy,
luckiest punch ever.
So it could be that, yeah.
Could be that, but I must just check. But I know it was Lennox was, he was great. He was great heavyweight. I don't know if Fury would have beaten Lennox.
You reckon?
He was great.
Yeah. The big dude as well.
Big punches hard. And look at the guys he fought and beat. Jeez, his resume is unreal.
He lost 2 fights only, I think, eh?
Yeah, Rahman knocked him out.
Didn't he?
And I think he obviously avenged that.
Yeah.
And then he has lost 2 fights.
I think he fought Holyfield once, right?
No, he fought him twice. He won both.
Oh, did he win both?
But the one was controversial when it was close. Yeah. But I must go back and look.
Yeah, because I remember looking at his record. I mean, I watched him when I was a kid. I mean, like I actually watched boxing a lot, because we had, I mean, even back in the days.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like in South Africa, there was even Baby Jake back in the day.
Baby Jake was the man.
Yeah, that guy was the man, dude. Actually, dude, I watched a little bit of Ludumo Lamati, bro. It's hectic what happened to him now.
Very hectic, very sad.
Because my friend is very good. I had a friend that I grew up with that's very good friends with him. I think my friend had 1 or 2 pro fights, boxing fights, and he trained with Ludumo for a while, and he was actually like reminding me. It was up in Johannesburg. Like he's like, hey bro, if you want to get Ludumo like on the podcast and like talk to him and everything, just let me know, but obviously we are in Cape Town.
For sure, yeah.
And then I saw like it was very, very hectic. Do you know like what is he? Do you know anything about like if he's stable now? Or?
Well, I've just been obviously. I just know what the public knows. So I just saw that he was he was in a coma. I think medically induced coma,
Sure.
and then I think that they're gonna take. I don't know. It's this week or something. They might, I'm not too sure, but the last thing I heard, he was in a medically induced coma, and he collapsed. I haven't watched the fight. I was at the rugby. I was Stormers and Munster, but I didn't get to. I really want because I know I've been following Nick Ball for a long time, and he's like a little pit bull that he can hit, and he's a relentless type of guy. But Ludumo's a great boxer, former RBO world champion, a great fighter. So I was so intrigued in the fight, but I still haven't. I must try go check it on YouTube But apparently he was doing well in the fight, and then I'm not.
I think the 12th round he collapsed.
They stopped it in the 12th for shame, man. Just
took a lot of damage apparently.
But how's boxing for you? You get one moment. You work your whole life because they were fighting for the WBC silver belt. Your whole life you work towards this, a young kid, young fighter, and this is what you get. I hope he's okay. But that's the seriousness of boxing. Shame, man. It's a highs, boxing highest highs and lowest lows.
No, for sure. I mean, there was fighting, what was that guy that Joe Rogan spoke about that had the I forget his name now, man. That also had a similar. I mean, he was an American guy from like the early 90s. That also, I'll get the name.
Heavyweight.
No.
There's been many sad stories in boxing.
There's a short. I saw a short the other day of the guy, man, and then they were. Dude, I'll give you I forget the name,
not Mickey Conlon, not Mickey Conlon, Collins. He was a young kid. They tampered with his opponent's gloves.
I don't. I think it was different.
Is it? Not the young kid. They tampered with his opponent's gloves, and he got brain injuries. And
well, I don't know about I've never heard the glove tampering thing. It might actually be the same story, but
something Collins.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It doesn't happen that often. But I mean, in boxing, but it does when it does happen. It's like you say. It's
like they say. It's saved more lives than it's taken. Some people have died in the sport, but it's saved many more lives. Boxing, being a fighter, you get fighters like the Klitschko's, and a lot of guys have come from they educated, and Klitschko,
politician and everything.
But you get a lot of fighters. It's all they have. It's because you can't fighting for a living. You're not normal.
No,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you have either doing it because you need an outlet of some type, or you in the environment in a gym or in a fighting gym because you get something there you never got growing up, or maybe you got bullied growing up and you feel you want to you get involved in boxing to you got some trauma, and it's mostly people like that, people that need guidance. Not everyone, you get fighters but it's people that need guidance, and that's all they have. And then when they get to that point, like Ludumo, I'm not sure what type of guy he is, but he gets to this point where he's on the brink of becoming, if he won this fight, he probably would have fought for WBC world title, and then that happens. So it's tough, man. It's but it saved a lot of guys. At the same time, it saved a lot of guys.
Saved Mike Tyson, dude.
Yeah, a lot of.
Imagine
look at that. Imagine, And Mike Tyson, that's a story we know of. Many fighters have walked that same path, and maybe they wouldn't have been a world champion, but maybe they're still alive and they made a bit of a living, and they, boxing taught them discipline and respect, and and made them a decent human being, and got them through life because that's so
gave them that outlet that they needed.
Exactly.
I think Mike Tyson. I know locally, like especially in the Western Cape, a lot of the sort of areas, a lot of gangs. Ross Kempon gangs, actually, when they came to Cape Town, there's a boxing club, was it Mitchell's Plain, I think it was, or where they were trying to give people outlets,
remember, exactly,
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of, I know one fighter in Cape Town where he was involved in a gang, and he went to jail for murder for few years as a juvenile, or maybe I can't remember. I don't think it was a juvenile.
Mm.
He came out of jail, became, boxed in jail, and
What, like defending himself, or was like
no,
actual
there's
proper?
boxing
Oh,
in
really?
jail. Yeah, had fights. There is there, because what they do is sometimes with in the province, and they bring guys from Pollsmoor to compete.
Hectic.
Yeah, my guy fought a guy from Pollsmoor in the final. Then they compete, but they have guards with them. They come and
Right.
compete, and then they take them back
Dude,
to the
how
cell.
freaking scary must that just be for?
Yeah.
Even if you're prepared and like for a split second, like, have you watched the new guy? You know, like where it's like it's like a early 2000s movie, and then the guy's like bullied in his one school, comes back. So I'm going way off topic now, but comes back, and he goes to jail, like goes to this county jail to get like an upbringing in how to like handle yourself kind of thing, and then they bring him with like a straight jacket and like face mask at the back of like a Sears truck type thing. Yeah, I just imagine like just for a split second, even if you're prepared, like you must be like, I'm fighting someone that's like in jail.
I always tell my ex, I say, look, you're fighting this guy from Pollsmoor, check, you're gonna be you in for it, yeah. They laugh anyway, but he won. But yeah, so they do that. So, which is cool, you know. Imagine being a prisoner and then you can come out and fight and go, but it's something for you, you know.
Especially when you get out as well.
Yeah,
you've got something then to put your energy into straight away.
You know? So yeah, boxing. I've seen it personally, what it's done for a lot of people through my experience in boxing. What it's done for people. It's changed, like even just the fitness side of it. Not even just fighting, just people coming to a boxing community, a community where people care about you. You're in a positive space.
Like-minded.
You're training hard. You have people, with good habits around you. That in itself is life-changing. You don't even need to get in the ring, you know. That's what a lot of people don't realize is, you can go to a commercial weightlifting gym, but a boxing or martial arts community with the right community can really, really change your life. You don't even need a fight, learn the skill, be part of a community and grow from there. That in itself is life-changing. I had one boxer back in the day, like 2014 till 2017. He was always troubled. He grew up in Athlone and he was involved in gangsterism there. And, he was always coming to, boxing was something he always loved. And he worked for me and he was with me for a couple of years. He fought in the EFC, had a few pro boxing fights. And I could just see fighting was just, and being in that environment was keeping him. I didn't realize how on track it was keeping him, but I assumed, I could see it was, shame he was a troubled kid. And then a while later, I got a call and he hung himself in his mom's house, and I thought to myself, Jesus, this is what was going through this poor young guy's mind. Like, what was going through his mind, and, boxing and Muay Thai and all that I thought was actually saving him. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was actually saving him. And he stopped training and he disappeared for a while. And obviously I don't know the actual what happened, but he ended up committing suicide.
Shit.
And that, that's how sad is that. But for that time, I didn't really, obviously that was his life, and some people, obviously it goes beyond, they maybe need professional help, but so that's, and I'm sure there would have been more cases like that if guys didn't have a gym, or, even coming to a community where you can talk about your problems. We all, in my gym, we're all brothers, we're all family, come there, and if you're having a bad day, you're having a problem, talk about it and hit the pads and do what you do. That environment is people don't realize that can be, life changing.
It's just as important as the skill or the the fitness or whatever you get out of the sport that you choose. I mean, even with jiu-jitsu is a similar thing. We got guys, we have a morning get together with our like jiu-jitsu crew or whatever you want to call it, and even when guys are injured, we all go for coffee afterwards and we just talk a lot. I still come when people are injured, they still come afterwards for the coffee. It's a community, man.
There we go, and that's what it's about. Yeah, it's not even about, I think it's not even it's not about the fighting, it's that community, which is great. It's something that I wake up every day and I don't have to think, oh geez, I have to go to work. I go to work and I got, all the guys that are there, and we all a family, and I'm actually blessed to be there every day. I got such a great team around me, and we're a big family, and it doesn't feel like work for any of us. And that's something that I can't take for granted, because I think that's the most important thing, is waking up in the morning and wanting to go to work and wanting to get your day started and wanting to be around the right people. And that's because I'm around the right people,
And looking forward to the day instead of dreading it.
Yeah,
like a lot of people have to do.
Exactly, and the thing is, not everyone gets to have, do their passion and do whatever they do for a living, but after hours you can, create that space for yourself, which is important. I think it's important. Some people get caught up in that rat race of work all day, traffic, I think
before you know it, your life is flashed before your eyes.
Exactly.
You're done, and you haven't got to do the things that you really want to do.
100%. You can't just chase money, and
you're working towards other people's dreams.
Yeah, it's true.
You may as well take a risk. Exactly. I think I had this similar conversation with a fighter the other day as well, and it's like, young guy. I don't know if you know Tumelo from Manyamala. He's in EFC. But anyway, young up and coming guy at PFA as well, and he was like, the end of this year, he's had a good rise so far. 4-0 in EFC, but he's still studying, and at the end of this year is when he can now fully focus on fighting. And I can just imagine it's going to be the biggest, like, he's still doing what he loves. He's fighting all the time, but it's the biggest weight off your shoulders. Like, 100% focus on what you want to do.
But it's good. It's a good thing. You have. It's good that as a fighter, if you you can't just put all your eggs in one basket and rely on fighting. Not in this country, So it's good that fighters get something behind them. Like I tell my fighters, if you're gonna fight, for me, you have to have a fitness qualification. You have to know how to train clients. You have to have a source, a different stream of income coming through. You have to be a good trainer. You can't. I won't just take a fighter, train him for a fight. I have before, I will, but I like to have the guys, I like to have them, equip them for life. If you don't have another job, let's work something out. It's train clients, teach them how to train clients, teach them how to do a class, so they have that skill, so they're making income when they don't have fights, and when fighting ends, they have that skill as a coach. Because that learning how to deal with people and learning how to train people, it's not easy. It's a skill that has to be taught. And I don't believe you can do a fitness course, or you can do a certain course, and I'm sure they do practicals, but you don't, it's not the same as being in the environment and being taught in an environment. So I tell all the guys, boxing and fighting or whatever is something you want to do, but hey, you have to have a backup. So it's good that he's studying and he's got his studies, because fighting's not forever. And in this country, very, very few make money.
Yeah, for sure. Like in all combat sports.
All combat sports.
Yeah.
It's like almost,
hopefully it changes soon though. I think it might, but you can't rely on it changing, like you say.
No, you can't. You have to have something else, and there has to be a plan. And or like now what I can do, because I've know how to open a gym. I build my own gyms. We build my own rings. I know how I can open a gym. I've done it so many times now. I know how to do it from scratch till where we are now. So I can help my fighters with that. If my fighters come to me and they retire, they say, Matt, I want to open my own gym. I can tell them how to do what the process is, because then you can't just open a gym. If you're a good fighter and you got a name, you think everyone's going to come train with you. It doesn't work that way. You have to know the steps on how to do it and all that. So that's what I want to do with my young guys. If my young fighters, if they become champion, or they get to a certain level, like they've had enough, I can say, okay, now you got a bit of a client base. Maybe we can even branch off and open a Madfit for them. Give them the steps. We all win. I believe to be really successful, you got to make others successful.
Yeah, empower others.
Don't just keep it for you. If you keep it for you, you only get to a certain level. So that's what I try to do at Madfit, and that's why my fighters and guys that join Madfit, it's for the long run. And they need to understand it's give and take. We're a family. You can't just join the team for your benefits. It's for everyone. If one guy needs sparring and you're not fighting, you need to be there. If if we're a team, it's not just about you. And that's what we've really got now is a family, and everyone's there to help each other. And they're looking at the bigger picture. It's not just about them, it's not just about me. It's about the bigger picture. And now I'm moving into this bigger premises. It's for everybody. It's not just for me and Don, so.
Look, I think that's a good place to call it. I think, it's a good, everybody obviously that you're making impact with is obviously appreciating what you're doing. And I think it's a good message to a take home message, if you want to call it that,
sure.
And I think, we're looking forward to some of the, I'm following some of the guys, some of the people you mentioned, Dylan as well. Like, I saw a lot of his stuff on I think it was on the Madfit, as particularly, and Don sharing it. And now I think you shared some. He's fighting soon.
Yeah, on the 17th of June.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody's comes up and things like that. And I think it's all going to tie in with this expansion of South Africa as a. I mean, boxing's been around, like we spoke about your family's lineage.
Exactly.
But I think the whole expansion of South Africa going to the world and people seeing we've got the people here, it's going to all tie into that.
I hope so. We're getting there.
We're looking forward to seeing what happens. MMA,
for sure.
Boxing, jiu-jitsu, everything.
For sure. And that's why we're doing this bigger space, because I want to have an internationally standard place. We want to have a gym where people come to Cape Town just to come train here, like the AKAs and Tiger.
I was thinking about that today. Like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Why not?
Why not?
This place is cheap for the dollar.
Beautiful to be here.
Beautiful to be here. We're getting it already. We have a lot of foreigners at our gym, but you also need the facility for them, And that's also where we want to go. We want to be on that international stage where we're known. Come to Cape Town to train at Madfit.
Exactly.
This is, you're going to get some of the, I have guys, they train all over the world. They're coming to us telling us this is the best training they've had. But we just need to, I feel like if you look at the facilities in Thailand and all these gyms, these American-owned gyms, they have a serious facility, and the facility needs to be run a certain way and has to be at a certain standard to attract the world. And that's what we're getting to now. So,
I think it's just a time thing. And I think, I mean, Chris Cyborg came down with the whole Quan Vessels and Don and everybody. And it's just going to be more and more people coming down. And you got Dricus and Cameron and BK and Don and everybody making their name overseas. So it's a time thing, I think.
Yeah,
we're literally a ticking time bomb. It's
and it's new. I mean, boxing's been around forever, but MMA is still new here. When the EFC started in 2008,
I think. EFC 1, I remember that.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Awesome. I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks so much for the time. And definitely looking forward to seeing what your fighters are going to be doing in the next while.
Thanks. Shot for the chat.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot. Hey, everybody. I'm really, really excited to announce that I've partnered with a healthy food meal prep company. Their name is Plated Convenience. They've got all sorts of healthy meals, chicken, beef, fish. They've even got vegan options. Head over to the link in my description, or www.platedconvenience.co.za. Go there, customize your meals, use the discount code #HackCheck10 at checkout for 10% on your next order. Thanks for watching, guys.